they're the lead back. They don't have a timeshare.
They're getting the majority of the carries.
They're getting the majority of the carries.
They have shitty backups.
Right. I know that San Francisco drafted Anthony Dixon. Glenn Coffey was there last year, and he obviously didn't pan out those 2 or 3 games that Gore had to sit out for injury. San Francisco did spend their first 2 draft picks on offensive linemen, so I think that they're geared towards buffing up the running game this year, and obviously Frank Gore is going to be the one to, I guess, what's the word I'm looking
take
for?
the brunt of the carries?
Well, he's going to take the brunt of the carries, but he's going to be that more valuable because last year, I think, with the whole Alex Smith issue in the middle of the season, the 49ers just started off, I think, not having an identity, and I think that they're going to try to have more of a balanced attack this year. I think they were like a 60-40 or maybe even a 65-35 passing team last year.
Think that'll go down?
Yeah, it'll go down. I know Mike Singletary's saying that he wants to have a more balanced attack. Mm-hmm. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be 50-50, but if you look at the first part of the season last year, Frank Gore, he only got like 10 attempts or less in, I think, the first 6 out of the first 8 games. So they're going to change that a little bit, but...
All right. I agree with you. My tier 2 is Steven Jackson, Frank Gore, and Michael Turner. Just those 3. They're great, but I don't classify them as necessarily an elite group as I did my tier 1. I think for the most part, everyone will agree. Obviously, not you, Justin, but like you said, they'll get the vast majority of the touches. They don't have backups at this point that are up and coming. They could threaten their touches. What do you think, Mr. Weaverstance? Who's your tier 2?
I like the 3 guys you mentioned. I'm going to expand my tier 2 a little bit, and I'm going to bring in Rashard Mendenhall, and I'm going to bring in Ryan Matthews. And as a sneaky kind of long shot tier 2 sleeper that no one's supposed to know that I'm thinking about, I like Pierre Thomas in there as well.
All right, so let me ask you this question. I know Pierre Thomas has started to move up my draft board a little bit. I don't know if you read this yesterday, Miller, but his backup and who was probably going to be the goal line back, Lionel Hamilton, tore his ACL, so he's done for the year. I think, and I heard that they're bringing in Liddell Betts. It was either last weekend or maybe this weekend to do a tryout, and we all know that Brian Westbrook is still out. Still out there and unsigned. I don't think Westbrook will sign with the Saints because he doesn't want to run on turf. But I don't know if you can really... I don't know. I mean, the tier 2 with Thomas in there, I just think he averaged like 16 touches a game last year. I know that'll go up because Mike Bell's out, but... I mean, does that concern you at all, just the fact that the Saints spread the ball around so much?
I remember last year when Bell was out at the beginning of the season and Pierre was just a monster. And I don't know, I feel like it'll kind of just boil down to just him and Reggie Bush. And I just think he'll be kind of getting the main portion of the carries. I mean, Reggie Bush every now and again will probably get in there and get some passes and shit like that. But I think... not to mention Bush is injury prone as we saw at the end of last year. I don't know. I just like that offense and how they're going to have the ball in the red zone so often, and they're not going to. They were mixing it up a little bit last year, more than people expected, and I like that offense, and I like the lead back in that offense.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I do love Pierre Thomas. I made a couple trades last year to get Pierre Thomas on my team.
Yeah, you made a few trades to get him.
Huh?
A few trades to get him.
But I'm just worried about his durability. I mean, he was banged up a little bit last year as well.
I mean, I agree with that. I think Pierre Thomas is a little early there in tier 2, but Ryan Matthews, are you serious?
Yeah, that was my next
I'm still
question.
confused as to why he's getting so much hype. Because
I'll tell you why he's getting so much hype.
crazy Schottenheimer in passing said he's going to get 300 touches.
You mean North Turner?
Whoever.
Yeah. Well, I think the argument there, and I definitely see Matthews going late second, early third round. Depends on how our draft goes. I don't know if I personally consider him tier 2, but it's all about opportunity. Right. And there's the only other back in San Diego is Darren Sproles, who's shown that he can't be an every down back. He can't run between the tackles. He's the better pass catching running back out of that group. And, you know, you got to look at North Turner's history. He said the same thing about LT when LT came out of TCU, and LT had a phenomenal freshman campaign. I just don't know. You know, Matthews coming out of Fresno State, right?
Yeah.
I just don't know how proven he is. I remember watching the bowl game last year and being fairly impressed with him. I just don't know how proven he is. And my other big issue with Matthews right now isn't necessarily with him, but it's with Marcus McNeil holding out the left tackle. He and VJax are holding out. So with McNeil not being out there, he's their best offensive lineman. And that's the way that the Chargers usually run since Rivers is a right-handed quarterback.
So he's holding out as in he wants more money or something?
Yeah, he's holding out with VJax. And the thing about VJax, too, how it hurts Matthews is there's not going to be anyone to really stretch the field. I know Malcolm Floyd is there and Legadou Nane is there. But, you know, Vincent Jackson's that 6'5", fast as shit wide receiver who can stretch the field and pull some of those linebackers or safeties out of the box and open the field up a little bit more for the running game. So if VJax isn't there and McNeil continues to hold out like they say they're both going to do, I don't think it's going to be nearly as good of a season as people project Matthews to have.
I just think this McNeil or whatever is going to eventually get in there and play. I mean, I guess Jackson, I feel like he's suspended 3 games, right? But I think he'll be back on game 4. I don't know what he's trying to do. He get DUIs and then he wants more money. Just look at last year and look at how many times LT scored. As bad as he was, look at how many goal line opportunities he got. Look at how many times he scored. I mean, he was awful last year, and he still, scored a shitload of touchdowns. I mean,
there is a lot to say just about being a number 1 running back on an offense that scores a lot of points.
Right.
Yeah. That's the main reason I like him, and that's basically my tier 2 is guys that are number 1 running backs and who have they're going to get a lot of touches and they have good offenses. That's why you pull in Matthews and Pierre in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, as bad as LT was, he had 12 touchdowns last year, but that only accompanied 730 yards. So I do think Matthews now is better than LT now. Or Matthews now is better than LT last year.
Yeah.
So he's also got something to prove right now, and especially with the lack of a bargaining agreement last year, he can really set himself up well if he plays well this year. But just an unproven guy.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I agree. He's a rookie. He's unproven, so it's risky to take him that early.
But and so it's kind of the same thing with Mendenhall. Are you concerned that Willie Colon? They lost Willie Colon for the season. He's their best offensive lineman. They're not going to have a strong passing attack. They're going to have Byron Leftwich starting the first 4 games at least. So does it concern you at all having Mendenhall that high, knowing that defenses can basically stack the box against Leftwich?
I'm on one side I'm thinking that that might be an issue, but at the same time I'm thinking, well, they're probably going to want to put the ball on the ground a lot more just with him out, with Roethlisberger out. So, the touches I think will be there. I mean, yeah, it might be stuffed up in the middle, but I still think, I like when my guy gets the ball. I almost would rather my guy run for 1 yard than them to, try to pass it 5 yards down the field. I just like touches. I love touches.
Right.
Given the fact that Leftwich's history, his type of quarterback is a throwing quarterback, do you think that means he's going to get a lot of pass attempts, or is he just in there to be a serviceable quarterback to not lose it for him?
Let's go back. Last year, didn't he start a game last year